All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to you, sincere, hopeful elect. Akim that puts the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai in spirit and in truth. All right. My Rabbi, that's to say 144,000. And the Lashma Kwadash, shalom to you. That's what we are striving to be a part of, all right, being in this ministry. Now, this will be a quick little lesson. We about to head out for camp. But I want to do this lesson getting into two factions of the same party. All right, that'll be the title of this lesson. And there's something that this individual here, Professor Mohammed Marandi, which I believe he's Iranian, he pretty much says what we already know. All right, us brothers in the truth, we understand according to the scriptures. All right, which I'm gonna read it. We understand that the Democratic Party or Democratic and Republican Party, the political system here in America, are nothing more than two sides of the same coin. All right, just as you had the ancient plebeians and patricians. All right, the patricians being the ancient republicans of the Roman Empire, and the plebeians being the ancient democrats of the Roman Empire, are revived into the modern day Roman Empire, being Babylon the Great, aka America, in which you have the Republican and Democratic Party, which they're both two sides of the same coin. All right, so pertaining to global issues, Professor Morandi, clearly states, what the scripture says. All right, which the world is just now coming to the realization that this shit is all one big game. It's all controlled, all right, by the elites. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this and then edify with a couple of scriptures, and then that'll be that.
Relationship has gone closer because Russia, Iran, and China all recognize that the United States has gone rogue, and that it is lashing out across the board, and that it needs to be contained. We see that in Venezuela. They just murder people. And again, the United States has no opposition. Those who foolishly believe that the United States is a democracy with checks and balances, they should begin to open up their eyes. And they're literally...
Right, and you have a lot of dumb Babylonians that still have faith in this so-called political system that, each branch of the government, judicial, judicial, executive, and there's a third one, I forget what it is. They think that there's checks and balances within that to keep, them in some type of order. But with Nero 47 becoming, president for the second term, you see clearly that no, that's not the case. The Constitution, as Apostle Tahar just went into in a recent video I was just watching, the Constitution is out the window, man. It's no longer, okay? And with the Constitution, that is supposed to keep those branches of government, checked and balanced, all right? But that we no longer, and that's never been the case, all right? But pretty much the veil is, been pulled to reveal that this shit is all a circus. It's all controlled, all right?
Slaughtering people without any justification. And two of the people who they tried to murder, and they carried out a double tap attack to make sure they're dead, but they failed to kill them. They were arrested and they were released. Right? So if they were released, that means that they were innocent. If they're innocent, that means that that boat that they were on was illegally attacked and innocent people were murdered, and that they were not a part of the drug trade. Even if they were part of the drug trade, they have no right to bomb them. But this is bombing innocent people is a completely innocent people is a different thing altogether. They've murdered non-Venezuelan individuals as well. So the United States has gone rogue, and there's no one stopping them at home. The Europeans are a bunch of yes men. The U.S. media is not going to protest, and the Democratic Party is no real opposition. There's two factions of the same party, basically. So,
all right. So two factions of the same party. All right, Democrats and Republicans, two factions of the same party.
Under these circumstances, it's obvious that the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese, and others are going to move closer to one another. And that is definitely the case. Iran's relationship with China is stronger today than it was, because both Iran and China recognize the threat that the United States poses for both of them.
All right. So, two factions of the same party. Now, what does the scripture say? This is Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay? So going into Babylon the Great, all right, that beast had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. All right, now they give you the notion that there's all these political parties, independent party, and different ways you're able to vote here in America. All right, but really, we see that both the Democratic and Republican Party, have handlers that go back to the small hats. All right, so it's a controlled game. It's a rigged game. All right, a game controlled on both sides. That majority of the population here in America are just now getting around to realizing what it is. Okay, so we see with these draconian laws that Trump, Nero 47 is passing. All right, Trump squared. All right, his second term. You can see, with the Jacob's trouble with the immigrant situation. ICE rolling up, having the ability to just snatch you out your car, whether you're a U.S. citizen or not. And those are draconian measures, man. So those two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. All right. They give you Republicans and Democrats for the most part. But both of the laws that they, advocate and push forward, both sides of the political or those political parties do nothing more than, bring about draconian measures. All right. You had under the Biden administration, the illegals, were pretty much the gates of Babylon were wide open for those illegals to come. Okay. But with that seeming like it was a kind, generous, welcoming opportunity for those so-called immigrants, they pretty much were being brought up here for the slaughter. Okay. Matter of fact, let me grab this real quick. This is Hosea 9 and 13. It says, Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place. All right, so ancient Tyrus, or that land in the Middle East, Jordan, all right, that region, Lebanon, all right, it's a very luscious green place. You know, you look at a map. You know, me and the brother Thaba had went to a restaurant, a Lebanese restaurant, some time ago, and they had a map of the territory on the wall, and then they also had a TV that had like images of the forest and the landscape of Lebanon, and it was very, very, very luscious. It was green, you know. So the land of Ephraim, or in particular, so-called Puerto Ricans, it's a luscious. Puerto Rico is very fruitful. All right, you know the name Puerto Rico, rich port. All right, that's a very luscious island. Okay, so Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. All right, so all these Latin tribes that was coming up here to the Americas under the Biden administration was simply bringing their children forth to the murderer. To where now you see a lot of those immigrants being carted up and taken away to who knows where. Who knows if they actually getting deported or if they just getting massacred. You know, who knows? Okay. But continuing on, verse 12, it says, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed." All right, so that's going into the ancient Roman Empire. All right, so under the ancient Roman Empire, you had a great slaughter of Israelites. Okay, and here in America, you have that taking place, and it's only gonna get worse. All right, being that we're in Jacob's trouble. All right, it's just gonna progressively escalate. And also here in America, everything that Rome stood for, the witchcraft, the deities, the idol worship, okay, the system of governance, that's all worshipped here in America. All right, and a lot of these people don't even know that. All right, which now us being in the end, everything is being revealed, but for the longest, people just participated in the system of America, not knowing that really they was worshiping ancient Rome. Okay, but once again, this is two parties of the same fashion. All right, two parties of the same faction. Okay, now my last precept, this would be Isaiah. Isaiah. Psalm 55 and verse 21. It says, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." Okay, so those what's the word used? Those the words that Esau pushes forward at one point was, peace, like with the Democrats, right? They'll use a lot of soft buttery words. Take Clinton for instance. But what he was doing was he implemented the three strikes law. Just throwing niggas away for life. 3 strikes and you're out. Okay, so passing that, under his administration, he ain't gonna present it as what it really is. We want to get niggas. We want to lock you niggas up. No, they're gonna play on the heartstrings of, oh, we want to keep the streets safe and people, families, and safe from criminals and all this shit. but everything is targeted. It targets, you know, Israelites. Okay, so you know, the words of Esau's mouth is smooth as butter. All right, he's gonna give you those soft $1 million words, okay, to dumb you down. But really, the intent behind it is draconian. All right, it's war. All right, it's war. So pretty much, what we have seen is under the Biden administration, you know, the smooth words were spoke. All right, the immigrants were brought in, you know, and under the Nero 47 administration, you see the draconian measures being implemented. So really, you know, the Democrats threw an alley oop to the Republicans. All right, being that they're on the same squad, and now the Republicans under Nero 47 is going for the slam dunk on some LeBron James shit, you know. But you know, I just want to bring that out. Two factions of the same party. All right. So I brought Zah. That was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom.